All right, welcome to another edition of Let's Get Hoarse, the show where we just talk about horse racing, and we primarily talk about horse racing Twitter. I'm Billy Koch. I'm the founder and managing partner of the Little Red Feather Racing Club. I'm at BKLRF. Sometimes I talk so fast that I just can't help myself. But I'm excited today because we have two amazing guests on the show today. We have Rachel McLaughlin, who is the racing analysis and production manager for Indiana Grand. Rachel, thank you so much for spending the time and coming with us today.
Hey guys, thank you. I'm just excited to talk to adults about horse racing.
Yes. You have little kids at home. I understand.
Yes.
Also with us, first two-time Let's Get Horse member through the bridle. His name is Bill Starkey. He is a dad, a husband, and a Twitter legend, according to me. Bill, thanks for coming back on.
Great to be here, Billy. I'm glad I can finally hear everybody. It should be a much better experience.
Yes, we hope so, because we know you're ready to throw down. We have, as you guys know, 3 questions. We're going to start with number 1. What went on Twitter last week was people were freaking out about the Belmont, okay? There's rumors going around that the Belmont's going to be shortened to 1 1/8 miles if it's run before the Preakness and the Derby. Is the history of the Belmont too sacred to mess with, or are some people just being needlessly hysterical? We'll start with Rachel. Bring it.
Ladies first. I like your style. I hate to say this. I'm the young one of the group. I mean, I take a lot of advice from my handicappers that are I like to say degenerates, which I say that in a loving term, guys that have been around the track since way before I was born. And I know a lot of them that hate it. I, on the other hand, am fine with change. I do think it's a prestigious race, the Triple Crown, all of them. But, I mean, changing things like that, progression is really being progressive is really what I'm all about. So, if that's what they have to do to keep the race going, I'm for it.
That's a good argument. And by the way, we are all degenerates. So don't kid yourself. Bill Starkey, your take on this movement towards maybe 1 1/8 miles for the Belmont?
Well, if it stayed a 2-turn race, I'd probably be okay, right? But at Belmont, it winds up being a 1-turn race, which I think is, interesting in that sense. I'm not a big fan of the Belmont. I think it really only has it and holds its prestige when there's a Triple Crown on the line. If you think about it over the last couple of years, I mean, we've had people like, horses like Sir Winston, Tappert, Creator win the race. They really, are not, household names when it comes to really good horses. Obviously, you got 2 Triple Crown winners jammed in there for Baffert with Justify and American Pharaoh. So, prestige, it doesn't really hold it with me unless there's something really major on the line like the Triple Crown. Otherwise, at 1.5 miles, I think it's just a matter of who lasts, not necessarily who's best.
Yeah, both great points. I think both valid. So I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer. And truthfully, none of us know when NYRA is getting back going anyway. We know they're at the epicenter of this terrible virus going around, and we hope it's sooner than later. But they're going to run up against it later on in the year anyway if they don't get started soon, because you have all those planned races. You have the Travers, you have the Haskell, and then all of a sudden you have the Derby, and then you have the Breeders' Cup. So what else are they going to do, Bill?
I think they've got a significant situation on their hands. I mean, we're hearing end of May, first week of June to open up for Belmont, but then also hearing that the town of Saratoga is not thrilled about that track maybe opening. Anecdotally hearing stuff like that. So, and that presents a problem for Belmont. Can't keep that turf course going for 5-6 months. So there's significant challenges up in NYRA right now, and obviously there's bigger issues there than horse racing, right? So. I think it's very difficult tightrope they're walking up there, and I think everybody's going to get jammed into a very short window. So for horsemen, I think it's almost becoming a bit impossible to handicap.
Agreed. Let's go right on to Churchill Downs, which is opening Saturday. Huge cards, massive fields, a lot of excitement, and the return of Monomoy Girl after being away for 1.5 years. Rachel, your expectations for Churchill? Do you follow Churchill? Are you betting Churchill? And what do you think about Monomoy Girl?
Yeah, I did the spring meet in June last year with Joe and Ed and all those guys, and it was a lot of fun. I am super excited. I actually got on the phone with Joe today. He's a buddy of mine. He actually taught me a lot when I first started out like 12 years ago. That tells you how old Joe is. But I'm really super excited. He told me today that The purses are still good, which is nice. I mean, they had those really expensive 91,000 or whatever allowances. The purses are still, it's like 80. So, and that's something that everyone's dealing with right now. You know, I just talked to my boss today, and everybody's having to decrease their purses. We're not. We're lucky, you know, when you're a racino and you're funded, and you know they have the funding. So, and I'm just happy that they're starting back up. Saturday is going to be a good time. Our governor talked to their governor, and I think that got us going. But just taking a lot of precautions and being very, very, very careful with racing. But how weird is it going to be for Churchill? There's 47 jockeys, Joe told me, in the colony. The guys that used to run all the races are like getting one mount. He said Miguel Mena has one mount on the opening day card, which was just insane to me. So it's going to definitely, everything's going to be so different this year. It's just unprecedented, and it's crazy, honestly.
Yeah, well, what you don't know is that's a field day for Bill's Twitter account, because he absolutely loves jockeys. So 47 is perfect. We can ride on each and every one of them. Bill, I think you have a take on Monomoy Girl, though. I want to hear it.
I do. My first take on Churchill is that I'm a big fan of big days there, right? From a gambling perspective. All the other days have kind of lost. They remind me of one big happy family there. The Kentucky-based trainers and Kentucky-based jockeys wind up just exchanging a bunch of wins, and they can all go out and eat every night. So I just, you know, no one ever really bubbles to the top. As for Monomoy Girl, you know, I made some comments yesterday about her speed figures not being that great. Yes, I know it was as a 3-year-old. And everybody came back and said she beat Midnight Bisou. And yes, that's true. But I think that was only the first or second start with Asmussen. So, you know, a lot of Bill Spar, no disrespect to Bill Spar, but she hadn't really hit her stride yet. Right. So I think it's kind of a soft spot for her right now. You know, in this opener here that she comes in with this year, I'm not the jury's going to be out. I think if she comes up against Midnight Bisou again, I think she's going to see a whole different horse there. And I think she's going to have some conditioning issues. So I think he's going to take it slow with her. Okay. The trainer, I'll pass unless you ask me another question.
No, whoa. You have an issue with Brad Cox. Are we saying?
Whoa, not my man, Brad.
I don't have an issue with him. I just think that, you know, he's been training since 2005. And I guess in 2014, he began to spot his horses a whole lot better. And it's been a meteoric rise since.
All right. So, we'll leave it at that so we stay on the air. We don't want to listen, here's why people are listening to this show today. In about an hour and a half, Golden Gate, they're reopening today. There's a mandatory payout in the Pick Six, which already has about $400,000 in the pool. Rachel, we'll start with you. How are you attacking this sequence? Give us some scoop.
Well, at first I tried to do what most handicappers try to do and find a single, and it was just too hard. This is a tough sequence, man, and there's a lot of horses coming off layoffs, which is a question mark. Why are they, you know, what's going on there? I kind of spread, you know, I picked a few horses that I really liked. I really liked the last couple of races the best. The first few are a little bit easier for me, but these last couple are probably my favorites. But I went a little bit deeper in the 9th race as my giant Great Pyrenees comes into the screen.
Oh, that's perfect. That's what we like.
Hello, Winnie. How are you guys? I'm here to handicap the Pick Six. Anyways, I definitely like those last couple races. They're a little bit better. There's a couple Horse for the Course I feel like might be sleepers. It's a lot of the times people think, oh, you know, they're up against some more tougher horses, but horses that, you know, have consistently won in the past in those races are definitely ones that I like to look for. So I went a little bit more expensive, $96. I was going to put around a $70 ticket for the bettors, but I thought, man, we're going to take down a pretty big, you know, amount here. Let's try to invest a little bit more. That's how I played it.
Right. This is a 20-cent bet, so you can get better coverage. You might not need a single. Bill, let's talk a little bit about your ticket. Is there a single? Is there someone you love? Is there a price horse that maybe someone could bring home?
Yeah. So my full disclaimer here, I know as much about Golden Gate Fields as I know about plant-based foods. So,
wait, you're not a vegan?
No.
He's a meat eater, I can tell.
Just let me go on record there. Right? Yeah. So I think the second leg, I think Sadler's going to take a whole lot of money in that turf race. I kind of like the Owen Hardy horse a little bit there. He's a bit of a long shot. Linfield, I think, is the name. I'm going to look at my notes here real quick. Yeah. So I'm going to include him in there as somebody who might be able to make some noise. Some folks are thinking about the 2, but I think the 2 is going to wind up having company from the 2 outside horses who are dropping for Callahan and Urton. So I'm going to take a little stab there. My ticket's $129.60. I couldn't come up with a single only because of my lack of a working knowledge of the circuit, to be honest with you, right? So I went a little thin at the end.
It makes sense and it's understandable. Let me ask you both a kind of a pick 6 question. We'll start with Rachel. Do you just go race by race, or do you like kind of going heavier early and taking a stand later just to stay alive? I know people like to do that.
I am a firm believer in the find what you like. I like to skim the whole thing, see how it's looking, pick out the ones I really, really like, and it might only be, one, but then I go and look at every other horse and how I like to pick what I like and not change it. Men are specifically very, very good at that. You always overthink things when money is involved, and betting, I feel like a lot of handicappers do that. So I like to pick what I like without looking at it too in depth. But as far as that goes, I do like to get to the last leg and have a lot of options, because it's a lot funner that way, when you've got 4 or 5 horses and you're like, yes, I've got a real shot at this, instead of, singling the last race. You will never find me doing that. And I do not single a pick 4. I told Dan this, like when we were talking about the sequence, I was like, dude, I thought about singling that horse, but I'm a jinx. If I single it, it won't win, and I won't do that to them. So I did, another one just to give me a little bit of extra assurance there.
You can do gender biased. We are both losers. We both have white chins. It's ridiculous. I mean, we both wear glasses. You can do it and we change our minds constantly. I've done it.
And me and Bill both have dirty hair.
Yeah.
Look at all that dirty hair he has.
Dirty hair. Bill, do you ever do that where you like singling a horse late and kind of just saying, okay, I'm going to get there and I'm going to have it done all to this horse?
If I look for a single in the sequence, I don't look for one that's probably below 4 or 5 to 1 morning line. So I'm looking for a separator single when I bet a horizontal. Sure. I'm not going to bet the 2 to 1 favorite as my single, right? Because if that comes in, I haven't really duped anything or anybody.
All right. Well,
I tend to load up a little earlier in selections, only because I want to get through. But quite frankly, if the early part of the sequence winds up being a place where I can get thin, I'll get thin there also, right? So I do look for value, but I hold myself to the math equation, right? And I always, being an old timer, I kind of always go back to $1 minimum wager, right? And when I'm doing 50-cent bets, right, and I wind up putting in like a $288 ticket and say to myself, I never played a $600 pick 4 in my life, I kind of look back and I say to myself, you know what, you don't really have a good opinion here. So go really cheap. Take a couple of stands and figure out what it is you can do. Unless it's on the big pools, big days with the giant pools, I tend to not invest a whole lot of money in there because I 1 or 2 favorites are going to trip me up and I'm not going to get any return.
That's great advice, Bill. I completely agree with you. Always look for value. Always try to shrink those tickets. Couple more things. You guys both know I'm very excited personally because Santa Anita is opening on Friday. It's my home track. I know Twitter sphere is very excited for Santa Anita. Rachel, give me what's going on with Indiana Grand. When might we see racing back there?
Oh man, we are literally, there's so many changes this year. It's ridiculous. We usually run Tuesday through Saturday. We're just going to focus on the simulcast because we can't have people there, anyway. So June 15th, Monday, I'm pretty sure it's that Monday there is going to be our opening day. And we're going to go till November, and it's going to be day racing only, Monday through Thursday. So I'm going to have a life on the weekends. I don't know
what's wrong with that.
That's good.
Having the weekends off is going to be crazy. But 220 Post, we are going to make an announcement next week about the stakes schedule, which is going to change. Also, interestingly enough, we are going to be a point. We are going to be part of the point program for Kentucky Derby. I can't even believe that we're a qualifying race for that. It's insane. It's like a once in a lifetime thing. And it's going to be, I'm just super stoked about it. It's going to be a great opportunity for our race and both the Indiana Derby and the Indiana Oaks. So I think we're going to probably announce the date for that next week. But yeah, lots of changes and we're just looking forward to getting started. Horses from Indiana are on the backside. Backside is open, and May 24th. Horses can ship in. So that's a good thing for everybody to know that we are going to start shipping in on May 24th.
Beautiful news. William, it is so much better hearing you. You were fantastic. I have one last bonus question for Rachel.
And now another animal has joined us.
What is the cat's name?
This is Vinny.
Vinny the cat, and we didn't get the dog's name.
That was Winifred Sanderson Asbury, named after Winifred from Hocus Pocus.
Oh, you knew that, Billy.
I knew. That was my next guess. I was going to guess that. But I have one more bonus question for Rachel. If you had to take one racing Billy to Indiana Grand to hang out for the day, would you take Starkey, Koch, or Mott?
Mott.
Ah,
Mott hasn't won in 3 months.
Come on.
I love that.
It's beard. So cool. I mean, this is an Indiana beard.
I can't choose between you guys. You're sitting right there. Like, what do you want me to do?
Oh, all right. Well,
Sophie's choice. You got to pick one.
Thanks so much. It was a pleasure. Guys, go get the Golden Gate Pick 6 today. If you're out there, enjoy. Thanks to Danny for putting this together, and we'll do this again later in the week on Let's Get Hoarse. Appreciate it, guys. Tweet away.